What's going on, guys? How we doing? I got to give a shout out to our growth. We have seen a ton of growth recently, and I couldn't have been more excited because this is the right time for DFS growth, guys, because we're going into the NFL season. I did have an interesting topic because there's a lot of people that have played DFS in the past that believe that because of rainmakers, because of best ball, because of different things logistically, that we might see a dip in the overall productivity of of DraftKings and just not just DraftKings but daily fantasy sports. I guess I hit my dip at the wrong time too because I guess I'm ready for bed. But with that being said, I'll let one of you take it over and I'll try to wake myself back up. Go, Donnie, any thoughts on just your outlook of DFS? Because some people really do believe that we're kind of hitting a dip. I don't think so, but that's where we are right now.
I've been hearing people say that for 5 years.
Great
Like
point.
it just like, will we eventually hit that? And we do need to be looking for it. Yes, I will say that. Anything that's start to have been around 10, 15 years, especially when it comes to gambling and math, there are curves in how people learn and when people are going to learn the next new thing to either help this or the new thing that comes along that people focus on. So like, do we need to be looking for that? Yes. So I'm not really mad that people are saying that, but I've also heard that for the last 5 years. So I don't really see it. Most of the people I see saying that are the people who are having the downswing that math would say you can have, and they're not happy about it. So they're thinking there's something wrong. Well, it's like, no, you've been very good at this for a long time, and mathematically, you're going to have a bad year or two. And if you had a few good ones in a row, then you might have a few bad ones in a row. It's literally just math when it comes down to it.
I don't think I've yawned in like 5 years, Gov, and it just so happened that I yawned at the worst possible time during the introduction. So who knows what that was about, but like also, Donnie, when it comes to playing DFS for the first time or just like playing recently, but not like having, projections and stuff of that nature, how does that influence your DFS builds?
Honestly, not much. I like to, look at the game and figure out what I actually believe will happen. When we start to build, very little influences my decision besides past data that we've seen, like target shares and stuff. So, what are we looking at right now? Are we looking at week 1 still?
So I just brought week 1 DFS up to kind of just like give us a platform where if you want to talk about a player, we can do that and just give the people a visualization.
Yeah, can we see last year's stats on when you press something, or no?
Yeah, last year's stats on what?
Okay, so like, go to someone like T.J. Hawkinson.
Okay.
I would just search Hawk.
Yeah, you would, but I'll do it my difficult way.
I would just go to tight end. He's probably the freaking second one on there. There's no Kelsey on the slate. He's probably number 2 in price.
The point is,
it's early. It's early. We're good.
If you look at this, the data shows that this guy's going to get a bunch of targets.
Yeah,
that's what's going to influence my decision. Not like, okay, what we project is going to happen next week, outside of an injury or something. But, I like to see my past data.
Well, I mean, it is going to matter, and we got a sponsorship a couple weeks ago where the guy follows along with a lot of data and analytics. He's going to allow us, I should say, a year subscription where we can look at target rates and that kind of thing. So like we'll be able to see air yards. We'll be able to look at a lot of different numbers like this.
Yeah. See, air yards doesn't really. That's not a stat that I really care about too much.
Some people do though. Like
I kind of it's a very helpful stat sometimes.
I mean, it's a good tiebreaker between players, but
well, I mean, all these stats are just tiebreakers in my mind. It's just like I'm trying to take like the best 5 tiebreakers, and then I have a 5 tiebreak. Like I've got tiebreakers for my tiebreakers, so it's like it's a process.
Yeah.
Ooh, we're getting back into the process. We're so good. Sorry, I'm breathing in the energy of DFS. Sorry if that makes any sense.
No, it truly does, and I'm trying to find my flow because I thought I was ready to go and just like forgot how to speak there for a while. And I think, go to your point, there is some nuance to every season, right? So like there is that breath of fresh air that comes with every season, but then trusting the process that you've always had is also important as well. So how do you balance the two?
Well, like trusting my numbers in that is that's like number one. That always has to be. So I come from that place of numbers first. What's my projection?
Mm-hmm.
What's the line? What's all that? Like that's you start from that. Then you take in all the tiebreaker. What's the air yards? How does this coach play? Do I like that team or not? I try not to do that one, but like that's where those biases come in.
Yeah.
Like that's where something like I've watched Baker play. I know he's chucking it downfield before he checks it down to Godwin more often than not.
So Donnie, week 1 happens, right?
Yep.
And let's say you built a team, but you were like, I want to cheer for the Patriots. So I'm not going to play, I'm not going to play, Dallas Goedert or AJ Brown, Do you think that's smart? Do you think that's not correct?
Oh, personally, I think that's completely stupid. If I feel like someone's going to go off and it gives me a chance to win money,
Right.
I'm gonna try and win money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think
scared money don't make money.
Exactly.
So we would agree because we're like grizzled veterans to DFS, especially me and Gov. But I do think there is a place where like a young casual fan that like just wants to like have a few beers, enjoy time with their friends could build a lineup that way. And I wouldn't say they were wrong because there is like chance and variance to DFS and like to having fun. And even like we've had Evan on a couple weeks ago, and he was like new to DFS, and he didn't even know if he'd be able to contribute to our show. But it's like at some point you kind of want that new perspective. You want some new ideas in the marketplace. That's what makes it entertaining. But also it's got to make sense. Like I don't think just oh well, TJ Hawkins is my favorite tight end, therefore I'm not gonna play any Travis Kelce. I'm not gonna play any Andrews. I guess would be a better example because Travis doesn't play on the main slate.
My thing is, the only reason why I wouldn't play anybody against the Patriots is because, one, I think their defense is still very good.
Mm-hmm.
And two, their offense isn't good enough to force the other offense to do much that would cause a crazy breakout game. So why would I play anything Patriots related? Because I don't feel like either side is valuable to me.
So, is there any value, Gov? Speaking of value, to novice kind of opinions or like that nostalgic? Is there any advantage to having like that? Like, I'm gonna play this guy because he wears my girlfriend's favorite number. Is there any time where you think like some of that is fun?
I mean, yes, it can be fun. And like when we're building, if you, like I
Yeah.
said, if you're the kind of person who wants to build a lottery lineup and that's your logic, go for it. I'm not going to tell you not to for multiple reasons. Some of which are thank you for paying the rake with your shit lineup, and some of which are if you're having fun and you're out here paying for it, we get bigger contests and everyone makes more money.
Yeah.
So like there's good and bad reasons, however you want to look at it.
See, I could imagine a scenario where I would have done that though. That similar thing, like back when Aaron Baines was the backup center for the Celtics, and he had his man bed.
I made some damn good lineups back in 2015, just playing all my cam stacks.
but if Aaron Baines was sitting there and was playing, and he's one of the only centers of value that was at a lower level, and I was just like, oh, I'll throw him in because my mom thinks it's funny that he has a man bun and she calls him man bun all the time. So that would have made me throw someone like that in the lineup over, I don't know, whoever was a decent backup center at that time. But that's the point. Like, I think there's value in playing something like that. Just,
Well, what about something like this? I'm assuming you guys can see the screen. Mm-hmm. I got Geno Smith in here, Metcalf, and then Van Jefferson. And I'm sure Gov's known me long enough to know what I'm about to say here. I think this is a viable strategy that still goes highly underutilized in DFS, which is PMR, which is if I have a tiebreaker, you guys mentioned tiebreakers at the beginning of this conversation, I'm going to favor that PMR game, not just because it's a late game, but because we play an ownership state game. I mean, really, this is ownership.
We get 5 decently, like real decent late games too.
Yeah. I was just going to say, this is the time to attack the late game, especially because once we get into the bye week section, the PMR kind of argument weakens. It doesn't go away.
There's actually a weird wrinkle too, because normally like there's 3 or 4 at most. And so playing one of those late games is also leverage at some points in time. But we already know from our first look that the chalky game everyone's going to stack is that late game Miami at the Chargers. So
you're right.
Stacking the Rams in Seattle or even Denver versus Vegas are really good leverage options. Playing the New England defense would be a good late defense. Like Philly could have a hangover, or they could come out and destroy New England.
Well, Donnie, I'm sure you think like, oh, Logan might be over exaggerating this point, and it's like honestly my favorite strategy, so I might be. But I promise you, there is a human element, a human nature to people wanting to see themselves winning early, and that a lot of the early games will get overplayed, and it just happens almost every year. And then what also happens is people don't make adjustments, right? So if I'm winning in a lineup, I should then go chalky, right? If a lot of my look at this lineup, for example. Let's say I am right about Adam Troutman in this lineup, and he just goes off and has a good day. Let's just assume he played at 1:00. Then I can go and play this chalky Chargers Miami game and play the more chalky options of it, like a Keenan Allen or a Tyreek Hill, because I don't need to beat people at that point. I just need to keep my boat from sinking. So, but
yeah, if you're already at the top, you're just blocking people from behind,
right? Or vice versa. If one of these cheap
if you're back at the min cash line and stuff like that,
right,
that's when you should switch. It's like if you're at the min cash line and you got some Miami and Chargers or something, it's like, okay, well, maybe now I should turn Everett into Troutman. just to be different and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, let's just assume he does get 2 points in week 1, like he did, in the last week in this game. If that happens, even if he is cheap, I need to make it up somewhere else. And so, but a lot of people won't make adjustments to their lineups during the actual, duration of the day. So I just think that's an underappreciated skill that we should highlight. Is there anything else? Because I got a couple more, but is there anything else, when it comes to lineup build that you think goes either underappreciated or overvalued?
I do think the salary correlation isn't seen as much. And there's like one that was pointed out that I got pointed out to me earlier.
Yep.
I think I dropped it in Discord, but like the chalky stack that everyone's going to try to build.
Yeah, give me it.
Let's just say it's the double.
Okay.
Tua, Tyreek, Waddle from Miami.
So the double from the same team, just to clarify.
Just the normal double. Like, just looking at it like that. Let's say you wanted to double stack this game. You think Miami's going to go off against the Chargers. Maybe it's a dual back and forth, so maybe you put a bring back in later. But, like, you start with your double.
Yep.
So if you're using an optimizer, or even if you're hand building, you're going to start with that. And then you're going to plug in the players around it and try to fit something in. What do we got here? We got what? 57... 82 and 71, right? Or 67, 82, and 71, right?
That's correct. I was told there was no math on this program, but go
no,
on.
I mean, just the prices are close enough. Just remember that. So you have a just below 7K quarterback, an 8K wide receiver, and a 7K wide receiver.
Correct.
Okay. Delete those guys.
Yep.
Go to the Cleveland-Cincinnati game.
I believe that's a 1:00 game, right?
It is.
Cleveland.
First, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Now plug in Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins.
T. Higgins, eh? Yep.
Oh, look, Higgins and Chase are like 200 or 300 less, which is just the same amount Burrow is over Tua. Wow. So that means people are, if a person just randomly building a Burrow double might end up building the same lineup as the Tua guy. The salary for that double is like identical. Yet one is doing a PMR stack and one is stacking an early game. So like maybe the lineup doesn't. So like the lineups could look the same or they could look different. Yeah. But you could, in theory, just build a 1:00 lineup or build this lineup out with the rest of the Dolphins and Chargers or the other PMR. But looking at that and having a good pivot from there, like I actually like this as a pivot, even, or even if you went Cooper,
right?
Like, because like if you look at it, like Cooper and Njoku's about to just look at the other pieces. Look at the bring back pieces for this game too. They correlate well. Yep. So like Peoples-Jones, he's a little more than the Quentin Johnston. And Njoku, I think he's about the same as Gerald Everett.
Yeah.
I think Cooper is right there with Big Mike. They don't really have a Keenan Allen anywhere. Keenan Allen is sort of priced where
Austin Eckler and Nick Chubb, like the same price.
Yeah, exactly. Like all of the guys from that Chargers side are priced like the Cleveland side. All of the guys from that Miami side are priced like the Cincinnati side. It's weird. It's some of the things I've noticed about week one where it's almost like they copy pasted stuff. It's like, okay, these two teams are sort of the same to them, so they gave them sort of the same prices.
Well,
so like that's what I'm going to be looking at this week to see if I can find anything that they've really been glaring with, like math wise, like whose salary is really, really off compared to last year's salary and compared to the other teams that are actually playing on this slate.
Well, to even give a simpler example of that, go look at this lineup. You go Lamar Jackson and Flowers, right?
Yeah.
Well, people think like, oh, Lamar Jackson's too expensive. Flowers, he's still pretty cheap.
Flowers is cheap as shit. Peyton, he doesn't have an expensive receiver. You'd have to play Mark Andrews. That's the guy who's probably more expensive than Hawkinson.
Well, I mean, look at this. Look at this idea. So then you go here. This one's cheaper, but not as much as you would think. But it's one of those things that, like, when people they look at one price, but they won't look at the combination of different.
Yeah, everyone looks at he's $8,000.
Right.
But when we're talking correlation, what are those correlated pieces costing us? Right. Can we find another? If we're going to put a mini stack in there from a game, which one's more viable? The two cheaper guys from this game, the one cheap guy, one expensive guy from this game.
Yeah.
And if you want to do Minnesota stack with Jefferson, Kirk, and Addison, isn't that cheaper than the Tua and the Burrow ones overall?
I would assume so.
Well, let's see. We get Cousins, who is about $500-$600 cheaper than somewhere between it looks like $400 and $800 cheaper than the stack. So, are you spending that $400 to $800 on Jefferson? Almost. He's like $600 more than Chase and Waddle, or Chase and Hill. So what's the double? So what you need is the double is Addison.
Addison, right.
See, Addison's where you get it. Addison, that might be the most underpriced. If you truly think that Cousins is holding up the same side of a double stack as Burrow or Tua this week against Tampa, then Addison, with the role that he's stepping into with Thielen that Thielen had last year, should 100% be one of those at least high 6K, if not 7K receivers like Higgins and Waddle. And yet, 5,100.
Well, it's funny.
That's a good find. Wow.
Yeah. And we had no idea what we were going to talk about.
People aren't even going to realize, he should be, his projection should probably make him a 6K wide receiver. And I think he will be before the end of the year.
A high volume passing offense. They're going to pass.
Well,
yes.
Here's an example of a lineup that I think people will build thinking they're saving all this money, when really it's actually more money than the Minnesota stack. It's just like one of those things, because Justin Jefferson is so expensive, relative to the other people at the position, you think I can't play Justin Jefferson and three people from, this Vikings game, because for Justin Jefferson to pay off his price, I need this. But if you know what,
but for the stack to pay off its price, it's a totally different story.
Can I say this one's a bad example because you have a bring back of Deion Jackson. So Jacksonville would be a bad example because you
you don't bring it back. Well, I mean, let's just say.
That's all. Now you're looking at ownership. People might be building that stack a lot because of that. So there might be a lot of Deion Jackson, Trevor Lawrence stacks. Now it might be better to play Pierce or Pittman on the other side. Yeah. That's a totally different. As we get closer to the game, the ownership condenses and we'll know more.
Gov, you made the point perfectly, and thank you for that, because that's exactly why I built that lineup, Donnie, was to show that's a popular, stack that people are going to build, and here's what's wrong with it. Because even if you got Jackson, I just think it's going to be too high owned. Here's another thing that people do is they don't consider contest selection. You can make mistakes in a single entry. You can. Just like the opening of this show was uncomfortable. I don't know why, but I just almost had a stroke and couldn't speak for the first 5 minutes. You guys let me work through that. I don't still know what happened, but it happened. So we moved on. And that's one of the things is I think people build this idea that every lineup is the same, and it's not. So I find it so strange that people do that. Why do they do that, Gov?
I'm not even sure. Like I don't even try to think about people's heads, but
Donnie, you know what I
I mean,
mean, though, right? Because you're new to this, so like, you know what I mean by like saying, why do people build the milli entry lineups the same as they would a single entry? Like, I think you know enough to dissect maybe a novice or a beginner's perspective on this, why this happens.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like, see, me personally, I just played, first of all, multiple contests. If there's multiple free contests, I'm going to play a variety of lineups. But I want to play the one lineup that, regardless of PMR, I'm going to play like what I feel like is going to help me win.
Good point. Good point. So because you made such a good point, I want to keep you talking, Donnie. If it is a free contest versus a single entry, do you play it different? Be honest with people.
No, not really. I mean, I'm going to play what I feel is best to win.
Win what, though? So you're entering the free contest. What are you hoping to win? Are you saying like, hey, Mom?
Anything. Have fun and win.
That's fair. That's what I'm saying. Is like, when you put that report card on your mom's refrigerator, do you want it just to say profit? Do you want it to say like I'm in first place? What are you happy with?
I'm just happy that I'm watching football and enjoying the game and to have something on the side to cheer for.
Yeah. Donnie, if I told you that my bankroll was $20,000 and I did it respectfully and had the same enjoyment as you, is that believable?
I mean, yeah. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Like, honestly, to some people, it does not matter.
And I just think that's an underrated appreciation. And like, that's why I'm glad that we're doing this now with like lineup builds and different structures and in different ways to consider it, because how many different types of people, Gov, do you think are going to build lineups? Whether it's your construction worker that watches Sunday casually with his buddies, it might be a college student. Then we have the professionals that play like $30,000. At the end of the day, we're all playing with the same lineups or salary structure, but very different bankrolls, and that's okay too. It's just you have to know what you're doing when you go in, like what your goal is. I think that's so important.
Agree. That's one of the first things we always stressed was contest selection. What are you trying to get out of this? So, okay, well then do what you're doing. So if you're just trying to play around and build something, just start with the free contest. Build the lineups you like that are going to do well, and you'll make some money. If you truly are good, you'll make some money, and then you can build your process from there. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You said no. That's gonna do well. I don't think anyone knows a lineup's gonna do well. Anything can happen.
You should go into it knowing you've built something good.
Yeah, but
you're right. I don't know if it's gonna do well, but
you feel good about it.
Yes. It is plus EV if you start getting mathematical. I have determined that this is a plus EV lineup. Will it win? Will it cash? I don't know. We'll see. But I've determined that this is a good lineup in my measurement.
I love that.
Through my process, I built a good lineup. Let's play it. That kind of sense. And that's what everyone's doing. It's I like this. This looks good. That's the lowest. It's that's the bottom of the guy building that. It's yeah, this looks good. I like him. Yeah, this fits. This works. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that Donnie called you out because it sparked this I've been meaning to ask you, because some professionals have said you should feel uncomfortable with your lineup to a certain extent, especially if you're playing in a bigger contest, because you need the Joker play. You need the 3K Mims play to hit. And that guy you're never going to feel comfortable playing. Or you need the Adam Troutman, minimum salary tight end. And you're not going to feel comfortable. Most people probably don't even know where you went to college or high school. He didn't come in with a pedigree. And you need that uncomfortable guy to set the table. I disagree. I don't think you should feel uncomfortable at all with your lineups. You should have expectations.
Unless you have 3 people playing it at once.
Well, like showdown dupes are a different thing, but yeah.
Well, I mean more so when we have 3 people choosing our players because we're gonna be uncomfortable at some point.
Yeah.
We always have someone who is
No.
uncomfortable. I feel like
We're uncomfortable, but like what I'm saying is like we might be uncomfortable for the player that we don't like, but we don't think it's. I would never submit a lineup that I thought was stupid. I just wouldn't do it. Now, some people do find that to be enjoyable, Donnie. They'll say like, I know there's one guy, so I'm going to play Watson because I think it'd be funny if I won with Watson given his, his social standing, or I'm going to play with Tyreek Hill because I know Roger Goodell gets pissed off when Tyreek Hill does well. So people build all kinds of stupid like constructions in their head of why this player is good, and half of them don't even make sense. But some of those lineups still win too. And like I guess that's what I would want to articulate to our fan base is like there are times when we do our reviews on Monday where we're like, that play was never a good play. Like me and Gov have handled the review shows, all last year. And we will go through lineups. And I remember Gov, we'd say like, that play, terrible play. But then we go down a few spots and the guy doesn't make any money that week. And we're like, yeah, he stacked. He correlated, correctly. The process made so much more sense here. He deserved to win. He didn't, but keep doing what, I'd rather be him than, player X. I find that kind of stuff fun. That's why I enjoy the review as well.
Yeah, I think I might enjoy the review more than building in general.
I think you will, because the review is fun. Because even when people are wrong, you can say like, "I see it," or
last year our building show had the most energy, but our review show was just so much more, I guess less heat of the moment.
Yeah,
it's good to go back and just reflect and try to improve based on what you see.
Well, how many review shows were you a part of, Yanni? I don't feel like you were a part of the actual DFS review that much. So I'm excited to
I
get more involved.
did all the review shows. We did 2 shows a week. I mean, I did all of them with you outside of the the week 1 stuff.
Maybe I'm just getting old. I promise my speech is coming back, but maybe I am starting to get a little Alzheimer's because I don't remember that. But like you're way younger than me, I'll trust you in that.
Well, the review shows is where I learned the most. So, because that's where I can sit back and ask questions.
Yeah. Can I be candid? Because I think you guys know me well enough that know this isn't going to happen. But when I first started playing DraftKings, I was playing just a free contest for like a good almost 6 months because part of me I'm just a niche kind of guy at heart. Like I don't want to spend a lot of money. I got to see value in everything. And then part of it's like I was going through college, didn't have a lot of money. But I knew if I could make money at my hobby, then I could convince my friends, my social group, like, look, this isn't just me watching football, wasting my Sundays. I can make money at this. Like the adventure, the hunt was so fun for me. Even when I could start to, build like a small bankrolls, like $1, $3, $5 a week. Like still going back to those free contests was so fun. Now that I have a job and like we've expanded our portfolio, we're going to be doing more basketball this year. We're going to be doing rainmakers, and it's all fun and it's all like I trust myself to stay within that bankroll. But there's a freedom that I'm not used to having that like has me very nervous for week 1. Does that make sense? Because I don't think enough people talk about like we will say like, oh, be smart with your money or only bet what you can lose, but we don't actually elaborate what that means. Like, does that make sense to you, Donnie? Like, I know I probably won't bet more than I can lose. Like, I already know that. But part of me is just like excited, but also nervous because I could bet more money this year. Not even saying I will. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, we're both very similar in that regard. We don't like to spend our money, so I get what you're saying.
Well, because I did a lot of prep for this type of show. I'm like, what kind of lineup builder show could we build without actually building a lineup and give people, ideas and structures and different like do's and don'ts almost, but I'm not going to tell you how to build your lineup. I'm just going to, teach you what I've learned. But this is an area where I haven't learned it yet, Gov. I could put a lot more money on DraftKings this year opposed to any other year. I don't think I will. I think I'll stay maybe I'll even be cheaper than I would have been. Like that's also a fear of mine. It's like, but it's also a kind of excitement because of the opportunity. So like, how do you weigh opportunity cost in that way? It's okay to think about it too, because
I was about to say, like, it's that's a rough one. Like that has to come to that's different for every person. 100%.
That's a soul searching thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's more of an open-ended question for like the people watching, how they would feel about that.
And really, like, if again, like the threshold of like, if you're just coming in to build a lineup or two and you're using it as a lottery, this isn't even for you. This is for the people who like, oh, I like this. I can see doing this a lot more, or doing this for whatever, like, that you really, really want to do this. And like, now you have to actually start making those decisions.
Right.
Like, oh, well, am I just going to like allot a certain amount as play money? Am I going to try to build a bankroll? Like, what am I actually going to do?
And
how serious or how good or whatever metric you put for success on it.
And Gov, that's what I love about us, is because we're smaller in like podcast and scope, and like we can have bad, openings to a show. There was a part in the show, like I want to say almost a year ago, where we thought we were live for the first like 10 minutes. It went terribly wrong. Like we sounded terrible. Realized, oh, we weren't live. That was like a good reset. It was like a rehearsal moment. And the rest of that show went so smooth. So like that's an example of what I'm trying to say here. It's like you could say $500 is your new threshold, or $5, or hey, I'm going to try to not put any money for 24 months and just play the free contest in the NFL. Like whatever that threshold is, I don't think people will take the time to explain it though. The actual, like, here's my goal, here's what I'd be happy with. So many people like, Donnie, I'll let you go here, but they like say, oh, well, of course I want to win first place. Like if I won first place in this contest, let's just say it's, $5,000. Then next week I'll have $2,000 to spend. It's like you should treat yourself, but you shouldn't go crazy on the ebbs and flows of it, no matter where you are on the scale of how much you plan on spending. Like there should still be that structure.
Yeah. We haven't quite hit the year mark of that show. That was our very first show altogether. And it was, God, it was terrible. If you thought the start of this show was bad,
it was bad.
Which it was bad, the start of this show. I'm not going to deny that. But that first show we all had together where we didn't go live, that was an embarrassment.
But no one saw it. And like,
no one saw it. Yeah.
We saw it. That was enough.
I would have had to turn it off after about 5 seconds of it.
But I've always said I'm a big game player, and I was going to find a way to turn this show into something. I don't know what it was for the first 5 minutes of the show. It was honestly like I had a stroke. My voice just didn't want to work. But like that's going to happen in week 1. Maybe it's Clayton Tune that ends up throwing like 2 touchdowns, and in the first half of the game. That doesn't mean that we should have all played Clayton Tune.
I'm sorry. If you know the meme of J. Jonah Jameson laughing at Spider-Man, that's what I'm doing right now in my chair. It's like, that's me right now.
I mean, let's look at this honestly. Like, let's say Clayton Tune has 2 touchdowns in the first half, right? That doesn't mean he's a good play, because there's a whole other half where, yeah, he's only 4K, but let's say he had 3 interceptions and didn't have any more than like 60 yards in the second half, he's not going to be optimal. And so, like, a lot of people do that as well. A game within the game, they'll say like, "Oh, the first half of the game I won because it's like 2 o'clock and look at me," and they'll screenshot. They will actually, believe it or not, Donnie, people screenshot at halftime of the first game.
This is why I don't even look at my lineup.
Is that bad? Like, you're a first-time player. You're excited. Donnie, you're playing in a free contest, week 1. You're excited. You take a screenshot. Is that bad? Or is that like, maybe it's the show-off nature that makes it bad?
I don't think anything of it. Like, like, to me, there's genuinely, like, the whole PMR strategy, I think, is a little bit overblown. Because if you're first place at the end of 1 o'clock games and you still end at first place, like, which it's possible, it's very possible it happens. I'm like, if you feel good about yourself after seeing first place and you won't get disappointed, once it most likely inevitably drops, then go for it. I mean, it is exciting in the moment, I guess. But I don't think many people should or could hold value to that. Like, oh, I'm first place right now. I guess I'm overestimating the IQ of the average person, but
and maybe you do it because I've done this to you, Donnie. I've hit you up in the middle of a game and been like, "Hey, look, I bet Colorado against TCU, for example. Let's just say I sent you that one. I didn't today because I didn't bet it, but let's just assume I did. And like, I want to brag about halftime how good they're playing. That's okay to me. It's the people that like screenshot it with the purpose of they've already won something or maybe they have. Maybe like Donnie's point earlier, you're trying to just enjoy the game. You want to put a little extra sweat on it. So like being up at halftime is the reward, maybe so in that way it's cool. But the act like the cash, is in your deposit or is in your bankroll already. That's where I feel like people make the mistake.
I don't know. See, I want to say I don't believe most people do that, but generally, I'm going to take the assumption that most of the people sitting at home watching their lineup on a Sunday afternoon are probably out drinking a lot, too. So, maybe there is more people who are screenshotting and saying, I won money.
Look at what I'm winning.
Like,
yeah!
But I think me and Gov are very much the same. We're very much, we want to see what it's like at the end of the day. Like, we're excited. Like, me and Gov have sweated many games together. And like, there are moments when our guy goes off and catches that like 40-yard pass. We're excited, but we also know that there's the whole totality of the game yet to play out. And like, that roller coaster ride for me is fun. So I would never like eject myself at the top of the roller coaster and be like, look at me, I can free fall. And like, look how fun this is. But like, so I ride both elements up and down. And then at the end, I see what I got. I just think that's a much more fun way to go about it. Yeah. But I get it. Now, I got to know this question, because I've seen a lot of this at the beginning of this week, right? It's this whole argument we talked about is DFS dead. And one of the main reasons is because people are saying the projections are too good. You hit on it a little bit earlier. I don't even know if Donnie knows how prevalent, and this would be a great topic for you, Donnie, because I don't think you actually know how prevalent projections are in the industry. Like, yeah. There are computers that like what about 12 good websites that build like projections? Like
5 good ones, but there's probably like plenty around that are at least like they're like directionally accurate.
Right.
There's 5 or 6 like good ones that you could trust.
Yeah, I always
they're all paywalled at basically around the same price ish.
Yeah. Donnie, Is that like you probably knew it existed, but is that crazy for you to think about? There are like I would say there are 4 elite ones like that. If you're serious, you probably have one of them.
Well, that's going to shake up this year because like of all the stuff that's happened in the last year with a couple of the companies, but like that we'll see. There might be a new one, there might not. The other ones might be different. Who knows?
So,
that's an ever-changing thing, but that's its own thing.
Personally, if I was looking at projections that much going into it, it would be less fun for me.
I'm with you. I
couldn't do that. I would 100% see the value in it. If it doesn't ruin the fun for you, you should do it. It would ruin the fun for me. And I'm not playing for money, I'm playing for fun. And I feel like once it becomes I'm playing too much for money, it's like, then I have to step away.
Thank you, Donnie, because I kind of forgot that element in myself. Because like people always say, well, you should play with a projection, or you should at least look at it. And it's like I don't like it, but you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly why I don't like it. I would rather lose with it being my idea or my structure. And maybe this is too much of my dad and like are just like selfish kind of genetics. Or not selfish, like stubborn. Like I want to do it my way. I want to find a way to do this. Maybe my disability plays a factor in that. But like I want to be independent. I'm going to show you, damn it. I don't know, but like that's exactly what it is for me. But I do see the benefit in it, especially the working man who's busy. Do you want to have a little fun, Gov? Because Donnie doesn't know much about these projection sites, right? That's fair, right? I'm not speaking out.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I know enough because Gov's talked about it, but I don't.
Okay, but you don't even know the name. Like if I said
no, no, I would not be able to name you a single site that does it.
Right. So there's like ETR, there's Stochastic with Alsimo. There's like these big ones, right? How much do you think they are worth? Like how much do you think people pay? And then I want you to follow up with how much would you pay?
See, I think they could probably get away with charging like $60 throughout.
Okay.
At least $60 throughout the year, probably more. I think 60 is low end.
So 60 is low end. What's the high end?
High end is like 150 throughout the year.
Okay. Now, what would you spend? Like, what would it have to be as low as it could go, Donnie? Donnie'd be like, okay, now it's worth it for me to take a look.
Playing in low contests like I plan on doing, just free ones, it would literally have to be like $5. Like I and even then, I do like a $5 a month thing and see how it goes.
Okay.
So I'm not going to expedite that. That would equal out to about 60 a year, I guess.
Gov.
Makes me feel a certain way right about now. I'll admit that.
Gov, break the news to him. Break the news. How much is it? Because you actually know. I don't know. I have an idea, but I don't know.
So your guess was 60 to 150 like a season.
Yeah.
Per sport.
Yeah.
Like let's say
yes.
Per sport 60 to 150.
Right.
So if you're paying 60 to 150 for the football season, but then you're going to have to pay that again for NBA kind of thing. Like you that's what you would say. Like
NBA probably
if you were playing multiple sports.
Yeah.
Right. But maybe you're just playing the one sport, so it's like 60 to 150 for the whole season, and then then that's what you think it is, and then I think Stochastic is actually decent. I pay $120 a month.
A month.
But that does give me every sport throughout the entire year. But it does not include an optimizer to build multiple lineups. That is a separate thing you'd have to pay for.
Do you really think that has brought value to your lineups where it's been profitable?
It has.
It has definitely given me better insight, yes.
But has it been profitable? Like, does the cost equal out for you? Do you
I
feel
mean,
you make over?
I have been profitable, so yes.
Yes.
That's
But
not the
like
question.
even in my down year, I have at least I'm still a little bit profitable. So
The-
like
The
yes, and I'm
question is, do
using
you
this.
take that out? Do you take the 120 a month out and consider that?
It is yes, that the
Okay.
rake, everything is
Okay.
considered.
Yeah.
Everything
Gov,
is considered in my ROI.
Gov, you're very humble. Gov is very good at this game. Like, I know.
I'm not. I was about to say I'm not as good as I think I am, but I'm good.
Well,
Maybe.
I must think you're better than what
I
you
at least understand the underlying aspects of it. I see why poker players,
Right.
old school poker players, got into this a little bit. It's like they saw the kind of things that they were doing before it all got cracked down on. So it's like, okay, this is a game. If they can understand that, then this is a game. All right. So like that's another sort of basis for it. But
I brought
like
you guys
I'm having a bad year, but like yes, I'm profitable with my process. My process involves
Mhm.
using projections from one of these sites. I think stochastic is decently like if I had the ability to do the lump sums, ETR is like $400 for the entire season. So that'd be better than $120 a month. But again, you then still have to pay for like an $80 optimizer, $60 optimizer to build multiple lineups that you can then export your projections into. Unless you're some genius who can do all this on Python. God, I wish I knew Python better. But like that's the other way. There's also the stupid like math and computer guys who know how to use the coding software and they can build this themselves. I can build an optimizer where if I just put this data in, it'll do that.
Yeah. Now, full transparency, to let you guys know, we don't usually have like full on, show discussions, like what we're going to talk about before shows. But usually there is a bit of overlay between maybe I come in, maybe Gov comes in with 5 minutes before that, and then Donnie might be the last one like it was tonight.
It
And
usually is that way.
yeah. So that's why it looped in my head that way. But before you came into the show, Donnie, me and Gov were talking about how well I think our chemistry is. Now, I brought some other people on that I think their chemistry could have been good and this could have worked, but it didn't because it wasn't the right time and they just had a couple different creative visions. But the three of us have really hit our stride. And I think part of what we offer that's different is that like you are so new to the thing that we can actually ask you these questions about projections and we can give that away to the people and say like, hey, we have a guy that doesn't believe in projections at all and he's not even saying it to be rude, he's saying it to be like he doesn't know, and like he might think like, oh, you're crazy for spending that much money, and then Gov can come back and say, no, I'm not crazy, I've been profitable for 5 straight years, or I've been profitable, every sport.
If you can back it up with profit, and I'm sure there are some people who can't, then I'm fine with it. But if it's not profitable for you, then it's a bad investment.
Now, maybe Hustle Man loves this whole show, but he said he loves it. If he's still listening, I know we got some live viewers tonight. We've had a good show, even with some of our setbacks. I want to know what Hustle loves so much because we'll circle back. We'll peel back the car a bit and make sure we pick up our friend here because I got to know what he loves so much because we want to give the people what they deserve here.
Yeah, good to see you back, Hustle. It's been a while.
I love this conversation we've had though tonight. Is there any other direction you guys want to steer it? Any other like philosophy that you think we should cover? Because like our next show is strictly going to be like
our next show is it. That's it. This is NFL.
Right.
Well, I was about to say, well, are we going to do like any kind of show on Tuesday, or like is our next show basically going to be Saturday night? Build our lineups, make our pricks, get ready.
I'll do either. I'm excited.
Listen,
And
if we want to do a Tuesday little preview, whatever, maybe get a showdown lineup in or whatever, that's fine by me.
that's cool. And I'll be transparent. Like we talked about all sports and getting projections and stuff like that. I did really well on golf, so I hit a ton of golf achievements. So like I had a ton of crowns. So we're going to build more lineups because I want to turn those crowns into dollars. Because at the dollar level, then I can withdraw if I need to. And so like we talked about, being able to manage your money and being able to, feel comfortable. To me, cash is king. So that's what I'm trying to get, even though I appreciate DraftKings. So we do have way more lineups than typical to build.
Well, and we have that ticket for the Millie, so I'm fine with taking the extra preparation if we want to, use an extra night, before we go live or while we're live or anything, and just look at the projections that the you're talking about. So
I was just going to ask Hustle, since he's typing, is there any other correlations that you're excited about for week one? Anything that's going under the radar in terms of a stack? Because Gov's biggest point was like people they underestimate the idea that here's a set price of people that are this price. So I think it's very valuable to look at things like that. And I promise you I won't die yet. I might die if we hit that Millie, but I'm not going to die yet.
Yeah, I think I would if we did. Gov can take the share because we're not going to be around for it.
Well, I do have a dummy lineup in that ticket.
I will. I accept this responsibility, and your will be happy.
I don't know what it is. Sometimes I talk like I'm having a seizure. So you guys should know I do have a dummy lineup for that Millie ticket. If it hits, I guess you guys got to fight with DraftKings somehow. But I do plan to make it. It will be fun. How to build that. Go. Do we build that
like for something like that though? I'm fine with going like projection mostly, and then insert beliefs to projections.
But I'm not even there though. I think like if we want to use projections, cool. But like I'm gonna build that lineup just like I would any other single entry because I don't think any of my lineups are bad. And I guess that's a good thing to hit on as we wrap up the show. As long as you believe something, you should tell yourself a story with every one of your players. And I know that adage gets thrown around a lot in this industry. But truly, you should tell yourself a story. You should not play, Sam Howell for the Commanders if you don't believe in Dotson or you don't think Terry McLaurin's going to be a thing in week one. Because if you're telling yourself that Sam's going to do well, guess what? His weapons are going to go along with him,
Sam Howell could be a 2-rush TD quarterback.
Or maybe but honestly, that might be it, Donnie. If you're going to play a guy like that, you got to tell yourself that story. You're playing Richardson, for the Colts. You're saying, hey, he's going to run more than the average player.
He's going to steal Deion Jackson's touchdowns.
Yeah, he's going to run more. I'm not playing Jackson in this lineup. Or maybe you say, I'm playing Jackson and Richardson because I'm playing all the rushing upside of the Colts, and actually Pittman and Pierce are bad plays. But it wouldn't make sense to play, Jackson and Richardson alone. Like you got to tell yourself a story that makes sense.
Right.
So why don't we do that with this lineup here? We'll just build an idea. Gov, if I said you had to build a lineup that made sense and you have to tell yourself the story the whole way through this lineup, where would you start?
Okay, so this lineup needs to make sense.
Yeah.
Tell myself a story.
And it sounds silly to say with the first pick, but like I want to do it the whole way through.
Listen, I have an idea for the beginning of the story, but we can defer to Gov.
Start my story, I'll finish it, and then we'll build the lineup off the story.
So my story, if I'm telling myself a story on how I think a game's going to go overall as a whole, honestly, the first thing I'm looking at is I can probably predict the defense the most. I know the good defenses, I know the bad offenses.
The Commanders?
Yes. If I'm looking at this,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I don't expect Arizona's offense to be very good. I don't like any of their weapons. Commanders have a good defense as it is. That's how I'm going to start my story off in week 1 of the NFL.
I agree with that. Chase is back. They have a new offensive coordinator, which means they might put up more points. When people put up more points, then you have to throw against them. I like this play. It's also under 3
And if the
points.
defense is doing well, then they're probably chugging clock because it's Ron Rivera.
Right.
So, like, just play Brian Robinson Jr. too as a cheap running back correlation.
Exactly, and that's the idea of the story. It's like anyone could tell you the Commanders is a good play, just like, oh, they're playing a shitty quarterback. But let's go beyond that. What does it say? And for me, it's like the offense for the Commanders gets better, which means the points are going to be scored on their end, means the Cardinals have to put up points, which means we get sacks. That's how I would attack it. Gov, how else are we continuing our bedtime story?
He said with Brian Robinson.
Robinson?
Yeah.
I missed it. You guys already seen that. I was ready for a nap. Now this is a bedtime story, so.
Yeah, this is your bedtime story.
Brian Robinson Jr., right? Not Bijan Robinson?
Yes.
I'm teasing because you guys are hugely out on Bijan Robinson.
I just don't like. I think the value that's being given to him is not warranted yet.
I agree, but it's because of Tyler Algier. But I think I'm not
because I don't trust that offense.
Yeah,
I want to see that it's actually going to do what everyone's projecting. Because it's freaking Atlanta. I don't think like. I think people are overshooting it, but like maybe I'm wrong.
Logan, do you want the next page in this book?
Okay, so I have to play off this narrative that we've built so far. So I'm going to say this is all we need to stack from this game, and I'm going to go somewhere else.
I 100%.
I was about to say, you guys keep starting a story about a game, and I'll finish it.
I'm going to go to my favorite game, the game I think has a chance to get a lot of points. You got both coaches that need to prove themselves in ways, but they have a pedigree. You know, McDaniels with the Patriots has this pedigree of like, he's going to be the one after Bill Belichick to succeed. He's going to be the one guy. Sean Payton's coming back after only a year off. He wants to prove like, I can win without Drew Brees. I'm a Super Bowl champion. I want some of this game. It makes sense. I would go Adams and Mims here, but that's the story I would tell myself, but I don't want to make more than one pick. But you guys can go ahead from there.
Yeah, and, you know, Gov, I feel like this story might be coming to a close sooner than expected, so if you want to jump in and take this one.
I mean, with the way he's talking, it's like, you think these are two prolific coaches that need to like prove themselves with like Peyton coming, like, okay, so they're also both highly offensive coaches. That's where it's like, okay, so this is our game stack. We get different in the 4 o'clock window, not stacking Miami Chargers. And we go, I go Adams with a Russ stack that has Mims and Sutton.
I like Mims, so let's do Mims because that's where I would have went.
See, I would have went Sutton here, but I want to see.
I'm saying double it. Like,
Okay.
you think this is the offensive game. You think both these guys got to prove themselves. I'm going Russ double with Devontae at that point.
So
there's the story.
Yep.
This is going to be an offensive. This is going to be a barn burner. I could even consider, like,
hey,
yeah.
Even the narrative bros must love this lineup because it has 2 juniors in the lineup. So
I could see, like, if you really wanted to gig a stack, play P. Ryan. There's your second running back, too. Like, now, like I was about to say, if you think this is going to be some, like, offensive shootout, 35-38, We
Now-
can do
now
a lot
you
of
told
crazy
me-
shit, but like I do think if that's what your story is, this is our game stack.
Yeah.
We have to stack this game at that point. That's the story.
And that I do agree with you, but at that point you're trying to call up the yellow pages too much.
Yeah, no, okay. Disregard my Giga stack. Fuck. Okay, all right. Just disregard that. Thank you for pulling the reins on that one.
I'm with the game stack though. Donnie, where are you going for your bedtime story? How else do you want to end this?
Yeah. What's our last game? Let's just pick any game. I'll figure it out.
It could be the same.
The story should work. We got plenty of spots left.
I want to bring my story over to Baltimore.
Oh yeah,
No.
let's do it. Pierce, right? Don't disappoint me, Donnie. It's Pierce, right?
Listen, I see a lot of value in this Baltimore game. See, personally, I would lean towards throwing in Zay Flowers,
Okay.
and I want Gov to take it from here.
What's your reasoning on Zay? Like, what's your story with Flowers?
My story is the new offensive coordinator wants to prove Lamar has the arm to be a throwing quarterback and completely kill the running back narrative to start. So, take it from here.
Okay.
And you basically think Flowers is like Odell Beckham? Like you think he's going to come?
I think it's a way to get different from Odell's going to have the attention. Flowers is the young guy with juice.
Okay. Gov, what do you do with this?
Okay, so
Is he just a one-off? Like, how else what do you do now?
like your story doesn't inherently think of me needing any correlation.
That's what I'm
Which is
saying.
fine.
It does
You could end
sort
the
of
story with a correlated other
like-
piece.
now, like the only other correlation would be like, well, okay, so you're saying that Lamar's throwing works. Does it only benefit Zay? Do we now just play Zay and Andrews without, like, we double stack without the quarterback?
He is probably the safest tight end on the slate.
He's also the most expensive, so like there's like I'm not even sure if that's even smart at that point. But like
You
I
could go
don't
to a
mind
different game and close the story as a whole.
Yeah, I don't mind Flowers. Like if I were gonna do that,
Yep.
I tell myself this story all the time. Carolina is gonna win the division, but it's gonna be so close. It's gonna be crazy.
That's disgusting. A prediction.
Are we going Sanders and Pitts?
Maybe
if
if it fits, we should see if that fits.
we throw in Pitts.
You know, you guys don't got to convince me to play Pitts. I found my voice when it comes to playing Pitts. I'm on board. It definitely fits.
Oh God, you're right. It fits. I didn't realize how much money we had.
But yeah, I left you a lot of money with Flowers if you wanted to change.
So
it.
like, no, we could just do like.
That's what I'm saying.
No. See, here's the thing. I said it's going to be hard, so we probably lose game one. So maybe we just play Bijan.
Oh,
Because that'd be my nightmare. Because I don't like Bijan, but like, yeah. And then you don't have to play Pitts. We could play any other tight end. We could even not play Flowers. Like you could even like maybe you like Flowers, but if Flowers is doing good, who knows? Like maybe you play Andrews too.
What if we played Andrews?
Like that's the better bet. If you think like Lamar's passing is doing well, he's probably still throwing to Andrews.
Right. You play the Aaron Rodgers to Devontae Adams. You say like, hey, you're right, Donnie. He's gonna pass a lot, but he's gonna go to his favorite target.
maybe that's how we close that story. And Logan, you start a different one, and maybe take me on it.
Well, now it's like we have 5,900 for a flex. Now, like, what's the story we tell?
Pierce.
Like Pierce's correlation. That's not a story.
Like
the story I would say is the story we had at the beginning. The story that Hustle liked. There's a way undervalued wide receiver at 5,100 we should just play.
There is. Go ahead.
Just like leave the money on the table, we'll get different, and just play Jordan Addison.
Yeah. I know Donnie's a huge fan of Addison as well.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
You're not a
We
fan
don't
of his,
we don't lie about that on this podcast.
you're not a fan of his personal
Hey,
life,
we don't take kindly to your taps around here.
but
Yeah.
you do like his talent.
I like his play. I like his talent. I just I don't confuse the audience and make them think I'm an Addison fan.
I told
You
you.
don't even have to be an Addison fan. It's just like we discussed earlier.
He's
With his
disgusting.
role, he'll be 6K before the end of the year.
Oh,
The only reason he's not is because he's a rookie. And I'll take a shot.
well,
That doesn't look half bad at all.
and what I like about this too, it makes sense because we're paying all the way up for Andrews, right? Where a lot of people will say, "Well, I'll take the slight discount on Hawkinson." We're still getting some of that game. We're getting the Vikings game, but we're doing it at a different price point, with the same upside. But obviously, it wouldn't make sense to go Hawkinson and Addison because then you're saying Justin Jefferson gets hurt in the first quarter or something. Maybe that
Hawkinson's
happens.
price. We could play both. Like you
Right.
go Andrews Hawkinson. But I think to get different, you play Addison because his role, like we
Yeah.
discussed, his role warrants a higher price. Like he should get at least the same target share as Hawkinson, but he's 800 less.
Well,
Like
now
you could use that 800 to do stuff in the lineup before lock. Like there's plenty of tinkering you could do, but this isn't a bad lineup. We told ourselves a story.
yeah.
Washington's going to control the game, and Arizona sucks. That Denver-Vegas game is going to be an offensive shootout.
Honestly, I'm not even a huge fan of the lineup. Personally.
Baltimore's throwing works, so Andrews is big. And Addison is too cheap for his price.
What I don't like is that we had Dion. I feel like we could have gotten a better back, which we definitely could have. You can see Chubbs right there. If I'm
like I said, maybe my
I
story.
adjust the story a
Get
bit.
rid of my story. You can say the better story is that McCaffrey's a beast.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're
Or
gonna
maybe the
go-
better story is that Chubb is a
Every
beast.
story needs
Or maybe
revision
the better
editing.
story is that we should play the chalk Eckler.
Yeah.
Or that Henry's a beast. Or what?
Well,
there's plenty of stories.
thing about this, Gov, though, we can eat some chalk. Like we already talked about, we were going to.
Yeah, this lineup's really different. Like if we're playing that sort of
Right.
contrarian stack, we could still play Eckler.
We were going to stay away from this game because we didn't want to do a Justin Herbert. We didn't want to do a Tua stack. Well, guess what? We're not doing that. We're going to play the running back only on this slate. And then we're going to play a much cheaper and much underappreciated version at the same time. I like the Eckler. I think Eckler makes more sense in this lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of ending a story, I think this might be where our story ends for the night.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we're good. I'm going to say that. I would actually, unless something crazy happens, I'm okay playing that lineup. I truly am.
No, like I said, there might be some tinkering here or there that we
Every
could talk
story
about
gets
Saturday
edited.
and before, but like I like that lineup as a start. Again, I don't think that's a bad lineup. We have correlation. I don't think our premises are bad. Like Eckler's going to be a top play. Mims is going to be a chalky play and a top play. But we found ways to get off of what might be perceived ownership on them right now. Now, again, ownership will condense. We'll know more later in the week. Maybe we adjust. Maybe this looks even better in the week.
It could. It very much could. Now, I want to ask you both two questions, and then we'll close up shop. One, with Mims being 3K, does his ownership ever get high enough where you would fade him? Not to say you need to play him in all your lineups, but is there a way that you would just view it on ownership?
He's not on my radar this week to play. I'm fading him anyway.
He's minimum. So you're fading him anyway. So
yeah, that's part of the reason why he's minimum. He's going to be chalky.
But I'm saying, that's what I'm saying is take that out of it, Donnie. What ownership would he have to be where you wouldn't consider him at all? Like, assuming you would consider him, I guess.
I'm not really considering him this week.
That's fair.
I don't think that the offense is going to going against the Raiders. We all had the Raiders not being a good team this year. I don't think the offense is going to need to be great, and the offensive line for the Broncos isn't good as it is. If he's going to pass, he's going to pass to a guy that he trusts definitively and it's going to be there right in front of him. That's probably going to be Sutton, slant boy 2.0.
Well, let's be honest. Sutton is about the same price as Addison. So we're talking rookie wide receivers and production. You're right. You go with the well-known NFL product. And I like that you didn't force yourself to give me an answer. Like, if that's truly what you think, Donnie, that's the whole idea of the show. So thanks for that. I think it's very contrarian of you not to consider him at all. But
usually I would. Like, that's, but I don't know. Just I'm not feeling the Mims hype.
It's honestly a value perspective because many people are not going to have that or talk about that on the show. Gov, what do you think in terms of what's his ownership? Does his ownership get to a level where you don't want to play it at all?
Yes, that is entirely possible. Especially since there's still questions on Denver.
Let's ask
like we're hoping Denver becomes this massive passing offense.
Yeah.
But if you base it off of last year, kind of what we did with Minnesota, their second wide receiver is not going to be anything special. So, like, Mims could just be meh in that offense. So even at 3K, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But there's also the possibility that exactly, if it turns into a blow, like maybe Denver blows out Las Vegas and they just play a lot of P. Ryan and Javonte.
I like P. Ryan this week. I will say that. Just not for that lineup that you were talking about. Gov, any chance that you don't play Jackson? And like, is there a chance his ownership gets too high?
Yes, but I would say that line is farther than Mims.
It's farther apart.
And I'm definitely playing Jackson. I feel like every chance I want.
If he's like 80% owned, Donnie, you play him?
Okay, no, but like that's not gonna happen. When's the last time any player's been over 75?
Wait, are we talking cash or tournament?
In this case, I guess tournament 80 would be a bit high, but still, let's say tournament 60, cash 80. Do you play him?
Can't play him. It's hard. To build a good lineup with him, everything else has to be contrarian. Everything else has to be like, I'm telling myself a story that Arizona isn't that bad and I'm playing K-Tune or something. Like, it's got to be contrarian.
Right. I would say he's a lock most weeks. Week 1, there's so much value that he's not a lock. He's close. Like, it would have to be over 50 for me not to play him. I'm going to play him.
We're going to keep going if we keep going. So
I'm okay with that. I thought we wrapped it pretty well. And our shows do better when they go past an hour. By the way, our best show right now in the recent weeks is that Jackson first look lineup builder. So I do think people are going to be excited for our lineup builds coming this week. Stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter. Have a good night, guys. I apologize for my intro at the beginning. I don't know what happened, but I don't think I'll die. I think I'll be here to build a millie later this week. Thanks for joining me, guys. Good night.
Night, everybody.
Peace out.